FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's Kerry Lutz, and the world is going crazy. Here to make a little bit of sense of it, we've got Martin Armstrong. Martin, welcome back.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so Swiss peg to the euro, franc peg to the euro, gone. Chaos looks like it's reigning supreme. Precious metals finally look like they're going up. What's going on here, Martin, and what can we expect now?
Well, I think I have gotten a lot of emails, congratulating me on the gold pop that we said would happen. But, and what's interesting is that they're saying, now I understand. I mean, there was no QE expansion, all this other kind of stuff with inflation. Gold is the hedge against government. Mm-hmm. And it's been rising because of largely in Europe, not really so much here yet, but over there was the crack of the Swiss peg. But you're going to see, there's a lot of pressure now building on Denmark with their peg. The whole problem is the euro. It's an absolute disaster, and I don't see much really in the way of preventing this, but because the politicians at this point have a self-interest, and they created a huge bureaucracy in Brussels. They just hired 25,000 people to monitor banks. So you have a centralized government that is there, and they're only now interested in their own survival. It has nothing to do with what's best for Europe or anything. And they are realizing that the debts are a problem, but instead of reforming the system and admitting that they made a mistake, what are they doing? They're going to, we're going to, start buying in the sovereign debt. I mean, I'm telling clients, sell everything you got. You got a buyer there, give it to them, because it's a joke, a complete joke. I mean, you have 10-year interest rates in Germany at 0.4, and you have them running at like 9.5 to 10 in Greece. I mean, in the States, our 10-year rate's about 1.8. So our rates are higher than that of Germany. Why? Because Germany's actually percentage-wise, economically far worse than the United States. But people are buying the bunds over there and selling everything else from Italy and Spain and whatever internally within Europe, because everybody expects the euro to crack. And the smart money over there, at least they think they're smart, they're buying the German bunds, assuming that when it cracks, they're going to get Deutschmarks. So there is zero confidence in Europe at this point, and this is what I've been warning about, that, it's almost a repeat of 1931, and where the capital flows will come here, you'll see the dollar go, nuts later on, and then that will break the other pegs, and it's just a total chaos. It's just absolutely total chaos. And honestly, we have to stop electing academics and lawyers. We really do. I mean, the lawyers know how to write the laws, but they don't understand the economy. And there's too much self-interest in government. And, Dianne Feinstein's husband
$1 billion, right?
$1 billion to handle all the realty for the post office. I mean, this whole thing is a joke. These people steal everything they possibly can. They all stand up and say, oh, the rich, the rich. Well, okay, $1 billion in commissions for her family, but she's a Democrat.
Yeah.
It's just sick and tired of this stuff. It really is so crazy. It's not the rich, it's them. That's it. They always like to point the finger at somebody else. It's them. That's the problem. The rich don't have the tanks and the guns to come after us. They do. So we really have to get rid of really, in my opinion, career politicians. It should be one term. That's it. You're in, you're out. And that's all, so that you don't create a fiefdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, it's interesting. In a recent entry to your blog, you wrote people should be selling their property, their homes in the Northeast, in the North, the high tax states, moving down to low tax states such as Florida, because all the pensions are going to go bust. And what's going to happen when those pensions go bust? Martin, and all the cops who are counting on a cushy retirement, all those government workers, which some argue government employment is just another form of welfare. What's going to happen when these millions of people see their pensions erode? Let's just say they're only going to get 50% of what they were promised instead of the whole nice, cushy, gold-plated retirement. They're going to take to the streets.
They're going to get 50%.
Yeah, let's just say they get half.
That's optimistic. The system is bad, and what it is that, look, you take a municipality, let's say it had 10 cops, 5 retire. They never funded the pension. So what happens is they've always assumed that there's enough schmucks out there to always tax. So what happens is that why should we fund it? They'll always be there that we can just grab some more from them. So now the 5 retire. Now, they can't reduce the size of government, so they have to hire 5 to replace them. So now your cost of municipalities is going up exponentially. This is why Detroit failed. When you look at it, it was nearly 60% of total taxation was going to pensions. So the pensions begin to squeeze out the current administration costs. So in that case, there was nobody else left to tax. They basically devastated the city. So this is the same trend building absolutely everywhere. I mean, it's just a question of when. The system is poorly designed, and property taxes in this country are the worst event possible, because it means really you never own your home. You can't retire and say, okay, fine. How can you live off your savings when they take the savings to interest rates to virtually zero? The elderly have been screwed every which way possible. They were told to save, then they reduced the value of their savings. They keep raising taxes, and this is it. I mean, we need major political reform, and unfortunately, we're not going to get there until there is a crash and burn.
Yeah, and then once the crash and burn comes, you never know what type of system we're going to be left with. You always point to 1933, and the change of leadership, right? Hitler, Mao, and
yeah, I mean, 1933 is very interesting because, yes, we got FDR here. Germany got Hitler and China got Mao. So who's ever in power, they just throw out. And that's really, really serious because what we're looking at is that, we threw all the Democrats out, put the Republicans in charge. Okay, you're not going to get any change. It doesn't matter which side you put in. But who's ever there last is the one that gets the blame. Right. So I suspect that when it crashes and burns here starts after October, we should, they'll probably end up blaming the Republicans on this one. And I think, you're going to start seeing, our computer's been projecting for years that 2016, there's going to be a very large spike in third-party activity. So we may see, we have 1 year after our model says the recession begins before you get to the presidential elections. So things are going to be rather fluid. And I would suspect that if there's going to be a split, we're probably going to see it in the Republican Party, and there'll be a split there because of people like Bonner, who's just really a country club Republican, who would, if you made him dictator for 30 days and say you could do anything and nobody can touch you, he wouldn't change a thing. He likes Washington the way it is.
Yeah. So for the Joe Sixpack individual, upper middle class person, how do you protect yourself? Because this is coming really quickly now. We're looking at 8-9 months for this pretty much cataclysmic bang to hit, and it's going to hit the whole world, right?
Starts. Yeah. I don't think it's not going to snap that day. That's when the whole thing begins. It's what you have to understand is that we are the only thing holding up the world economy right now.
Right.
This, over here in New Jersey, try and go out to dinner on a weekend. You can't. I mean, if you don't have reservations, you're not getting in.
Same thing here.
And
Same here.
What happens is you look at China, recession. You look at emerging markets, recession. Russia, recession. Europe, recession. We're the only thing holding everything up. So when we turn down, everything goes. They get much worse. And one thing that I can see just fundamentally, just driving around, as I pass all the office buildings around here, they all got signs out, space available.
Right.
And usually at the peak of an economy, it's really a very good boom, and there's no space available. Here we have a lot of space available. Economy's okay. Can't get a reservation for dinner. All the hotels are full, but there's space available. So that's showing business has not really recovered the way it did before. Right. So it's more of a dead cat bounce that way. And we have unemployment at twice the level or better than where it was before the Great Depression began. There it was only 5%. So I'm concerned that things appear to be okay, but things are at this point twice as high as what they were when the Depression started. And then I look around at the world and say nobody's in good shape. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I think this could be the worst recession possibly in a couple hundred years.
Really? So worse than 29 through 39, huh?
It certainly seems to be because there's no real depth to the economy. The economic growth is very stagnant, and I think it's largely the fact that their taxes are way too high, and you're going to have Obama talking about raising taxes even more. And if you let him do whatever he wanted, he'd make taxes 70-75%. He agrees with France. And it's just, the whole thing is just a complete nightmare. I mean, nobody with any sense is in charge. And these people are predominantly lawyers. They know how to write a law, but they have no concept about humanity and what makes the economy function. Mm-hmm. They think that they can just dictate, and I write a law, and so you got to stand on the corner for the rest of your life. Oh, you didn't? I'd throw you in jail.
Yeah.
They don't understand. Mm-hmm. And they go against human rights. They go against humanity, human nature, everything. It's just nuts. And I know a lot of people, think that they should be running in the gold, et cetera. I mean, I would, as far as gold is concerned, I would have coins. I would stay away from bars and stuff.
Yeah.
I am concerned the government's tracking everything like that now. And then you look at what Minnesota did, it's just completely insane. Their definition of bullion, anything that contains 1% or more of precious metals.
Yeah.
So now everybody, if you had a coin that was only 2% silver, it has to be reported. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the rest of the states start following that model, I don't know what the hell we're going to be doing. We're talking about Mad Max and everything and underground economies. Mm-hmm. I would definitely have a, stockpile of some cash. But because you don't know what's going to really come down with the banks. The banks that are in trouble on this decline will be the money center banks in New York, not really your local regional ones so much, but any regional one that has money there might get hurt. So
yeah, they're all using the majors as correspondents, right? So
yeah, so you got to be a little careful there. But it's really, we have to go through some major political reform here. And the system is not sustainable as it is. And I think everybody kind of knows something's wrong. They might not be able to put their finger on it, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, and then, we can't keep printing money. Every federal program that gives money out is also unsustainable as well, right? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of them are unsustainable.
Well, all of that is pretty much unsustainable, but the reason none of that has produced inflation is because the rest of the world is in deflation, and they've been sucking up dollars out of the United States like crazy. I mean, in Ukraine, they don't accept their own currency. If you pay your local rent, they want dollars. Republic National Bank had been exposed as sending skids and skids and skids, $100 bills to Russia.
I remember, yeah.
I mean, American currency, and this is the difference between, the Austrian school, which would say that you should be inflationary. That applies to a isolated economy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't apply to an empire.
Right.
Because the empire, basically, its monetary system, regardless of what it is, it's very porous. It goes out, and the peripheral economies use it. So that's just simply the way it works. I mean, China became the major currency over there, and so what happened? Japan ended up kind of, always issuing new coins. Every emperor came in and he devalued what was out there before. And he said, oh, this is now worth 10 times whatever the last emperor issued. And so people then lost confidence in coinage, and they just wouldn't accept it anymore. So what did you find? For 600 years, Japan could not issue coins. They used the coins of China.
Right.
So we're in the same kind of situation. Everybody's using U.S. dollars. And since 2007, we have $6 trillion in dollar-denominated debt has been issued by emerging markets. Mm-hmm. $6 trillion.
Yeah.
So you wonder where QE went? It poured out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you didn't see inflation here and all those, we're going to end up. You have to understand, the U.S. is very porous.
Right.
And I don't know if it would even be possible for us to ever really seriously inflate our way out. And you're seeing the same problem in Europe. I mean, they're facing massive deflation because they keep raising taxes. So it's like me saying, okay, fine, I'll give you $20. So by the way, I want $22 back.
Where's it going to come from? Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just what you're printing. You also have to look at the rise in taxation. Because, inflation technically is the net disposable increase in the net disposable income. Mm-hmm. If there's no net increase in the disposable income because everybody's coming in and got their hand in your pocket, fine, doesn't matter. I can give you an extra $1,000. If it's not there at the end of the day, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but outside the U.S., they were awash in dollars, but now they're having to pay back that debt. So effectively, they shorted the U.S. dollar, and their bet was wrong, huh?
More or less the same problem we just saw with in Greece. All right, the reason we said that the euro would not work, you took all the debts of Southern Europe, and you redenominated them now in euros. So all of a sudden, the debt appreciated. The euro then doubled in price. You can't pay this. And so it wasn't so much that they were printing money and reckless as a lot of the EU people want to say. No, they ended up strip mining these countries.
Right.
Whatever assets they had, they now had to pay double to get out. So it really could not work, and we're seeing the consequences of it. So the emerging markets, they all issued $6 trillion worth of debt in dollars. One, so people would not have the foreign exchange risk and they would be inclined to buy it. And two, they did that in dollars because the interest rates were cheap. Mm-hmm. Now the dollar goes up in value. All of a sudden, they got to pay back more dollars than what they borrowed.
Right.
And so in local currency, it just keeps appreciating and appreciating. So as the dollar rises, and this is what will fuel it, they end up being strip mined. They lose their actual tangible wealth to other countries. Yeah. So the whole thing is just going to completely just go belly up. I mean, there's just no way out of this. And because unfortunately, we do have nothing but really lawyers and academics that rule the world. And that's our problem because they don't understand this. They think they can just write a law and that's what you got to do, whatever it is they say.
Oh yeah, we see that in states like New York all the time. They write laws that are injurious to businesses, and then they're shocked when the businesses move out to more hospitable states and countries. They just can't believe it. They're just shocked. And
well,
yeah.
I can tell you, all those people up there that were protesting against Wall Street felt sorry for the people they were protesting against, because it was just the stockbrokers.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs wasn't on Wall Street, neither is JP Morgan or anything else. In fact, Goldman Sachs built their building across the river. They're in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And now Bank of New York is selling their building and going to move to New Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's being Bank of New York of New Jersey, basically. Yeah. They're all moving across the river. It's cheaper, taxes, everything else. So Wall Street's even migrating from New York.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's been the trend. I mean, technology and everything else, the back office and the trades don't really take place on the floor of the exchange anymore either. So
no, well, the back office is left some time ago, but now we're talking about the major headquarters are moving.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, there's no need really. I mean, the concept of the
workplace. The prices, the taxes, the real estate, it's gone skyrocketing in New York City.
Yeah, and
so they're starting to leave.
And the financial district's become a big residential area. It's more so than anything else now. A lot more people living down there than working down there anymore. And they're all blogging.
If I can, I will probably be moving our office maybe down there to where you are in Florida.
Yeah. Well, a lot of hedge funds have moved down to Palm Beach County out of New York, starting with a branch office and then gradually moving their operations out. Right. That's the trend.
I was just down there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trend.
So it is definitely interesting.
Yeah. No state income tax, personal or corporate. And you look, remember back to 1960, there were 4 or 5 million people in Florida. Now there's 20 million, and it just passed New York in population. And yet the politicians say taxes don't matter, right? Just people will stay in New York because they love it so much, and the taxes aren't going to make any difference. But and Florida's budget is half of what New York's is, and the same virtually the same number of people, and they're fleeing New York, coming here and to other states. In fairness, because the taxes are a fraction of what they are in New York, and the real estate taxes as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, the average tax on a house in New Jersey is probably between $10,000 and $15,000 for a normal house.
Yeah,
not a mansion.
It's well less than half that in Florida. So average person really needs to start preparing for this, don't they?
Yeah, it's. I don't know, with TSA and all this supposed security thing, might not be able to even hop on a plane and leave. So maybe get an inner tube and get ready to go to the beach and start paddling away or something.
Yeah, but the stock market, is it going to keep going up the way it is, or it has been?
Yeah, I mean, consolidating, sideways. We're really into a bond bubble, and the bond bubble is basically. You have people, just in this country, on average, about 40% of pension funds are invested in bonds. And in Europe, some of it even gets crazier yet. I mean, some of them are under mandatory that they have to have 80% of the pension fund in sovereign debt to be conservative. So we're looking at, with interest rates at these crazy low levels, you just ask yourself, okay, fine, if there's going to be a recession, we turn down again, are you then going to run out and buy government bonds and pay them 10% to hold your money? I mean, you can't get much lower than this. You're going negative in many areas. So eventually what will happen is people will then, wise up, and the stock market will rise, and I think corporate bonds will do better. Right. At least if a corporation goes bust, you get something in bankruptcy. If a state goes bust, you get nothing.
You get Detroit.
I mean, That's it. It's whatever they want to pay you. It's not secured against anything. You can't go down to the local museum and start lifting Picassos out, So, you can go, steal a few, manhole covers and get maybe about $10 a piece. That's what somebody was doing up here. But that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. So the market, the money will shift. And then you're going to hear a huge sucking sound in the bond market, right? And
yes, I would be very concerned about the bond market. Particularly, I think we'll probably peak by the end of the summer, and then most likely when Europe starts to crack, and some of the sovereign debt gets into trouble. What will happen is the way this capital reacts from. Is that just like when Greece cracked, what happened? The traders looked around and said, well, gee, Portugal's in the same boat, Spain, Italy. It then becomes a contagion.
Right.
So once we begin to see a sovereign debt default, you're going to start seeing them looking around, and then that's going to be the peak in the bond market, and we're going to start heading down.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense, and it's going to be happening pretty soon, right? I mean,
so I would say between 15, late 15, going into about 2020, we're probably looking at a significant decline in asset. A lot of people are going to be losing a tremendous amount of money, but there's going to be a shift between the public sector investment to private sector. And it was Andrew Mellon who, in October of 1929, when the stock market first crashed, he came out with a kind of an arrogant statement, and he just laughed and he says, well, this is why gentlemen buy bonds. Of course, Marilyn Monroe turned it into Blondes, but for her movie. But the original quote was bonds.
Yeah.
And of course, then when the bond market crashed, he didn't have too much to say. But so it might be the other way around this time.
It's going to get
maybe gentlemen buy stocks.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting real fast, and you need to be prepared for it. And maybe we'll see some real leadership from our politicians, but don't count on it, huh?
I don't, not beforehand, definitely not. I posted on our blog today, I tried donating my time and working on Capitol Hill in the 90s, and I just got to the point, it was just, forget it. I mean, I couldn't defeat our own forecasts.
Yeah, well, when things are looking okay, they really don't want to do anything. It's not until they're faced with utter catastrophe, disaster, that you can get them to do anything. And even then, it's more likely that they're going to make the wrong decision than the right decision. And then we're all up the creek without a paddle. Anyway, Martin, hey, thanks a lot. So we find you at armstrongeconomics.com. And you have that new feature on your blog where you can subscribe. So whenever there's a new posting, you automatically get it delivered to your mailbox, right?
Yes, go down and just hit follow.
Yeah, it's great. I get it several times a day, even on the weekends. It seems like you've gotten more prolific as of late, huh?
Well, with the crack in the Swiss franc, we had so many emails coming in from all over the place. So
I can't even imagine.
Trying to answer some of the questions for them.
Yeah. Hey, and the movie's doing great in Europe, and it's hopefully going to make its way across the pond shortly.
I think what they're going to do is sometime maybe in February or March, they're going to do a one-time, like a pay-per-view type thing globally, because there's been so much demand from people that, at least in the financial industry, that want to see it.
Yeah.
It hits theaters in Germany in April. Apparently, it's reached blockbuster levels over there. Already 80 cities have signed up for it. And then I don't know, it'll probably be coming over here, but I don't know when. I'm not really part of that whole thing. I just get told once in a while, but But it from what I understand, because they would like me to go over there for the debut in Germany in April.
Right. Well, we'd love to see it. So keep us posted when the pay-per-view is going to be up. I'm sure many of you out there are going to be watching it like I will, and we all want to see it. So just let us know, okay?
Well, it's interesting. I did an interview with Al Jazeera, and the journalist there had to go watch it twice, and she said, "This is like a political thriller." I said, "Yep, it involves everything."
Yeah, well, it's definitely that. Political, judicial, and economic, and everything. Hey, and one other thing, you mentioned the skids of $100 bills that Republic National Bank was shipping over to Russia. I used to live on the east side of Manhattan and work on the west side, and I would walk right by there on Friday afternoons. They would have a row of armored cars on, I guess it was 40th Street, lined up, dozens of armored cars. And that's what they would be doing. They'd be taking those $100 bills, millions of them, maybe $1 billion a week. I don't remember. It was a phenomenal number over to Kennedy Airport in a 747 cargo jet off to Russia,
Oh, yeah. It was all the time, every week.
It was amazing when it was happening. I didn't know what that was until I read it many years later. But yeah, that was incredible. So anyway, Martin, good luck on the movie, and thanks for keeping us informed. And we will talk with you again soon. Be well.
Thank you very much.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.